The disgraced former national security advisor to President Trump, John Bolton, has finally cracked, admitting he deserves to be prosecuted and insisting politics should be taken out of it. Imagine that. One of Trump's loudest critics confessing the obvious. And this is just the latest news proving that Donald Trump has absolutely broken the Democrats. They're not coping well. In fact, it's turned into a full-blown meltdown. They're spiraling fast, and Letitia James, she's leading the charge straight into political self-destruction. So she finally spoke in front of cameras for the first time since her viral tantrum at Zohran Mamdani's rally. I don't know if you saw it. I showed it on the show the other day. The one where she was screaming and flailing like a toddler denied a juice box. It was bad. Well, less than 48 hours later, she steps up to the mic again, and she looks like a completely different person. She looks defeated. She looks like she hasn't slept in days, and her voice is weak as she says, "I'm totally innocent." This is the look of someone Trump just broke. As always, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe if you're new here, and stick around because I've got a bonus clip for you at the end of the show. It involves parents who have had enough with their school district allowing biological boys to undress in girls' locker rooms. So what do? They decide to change their clothes right in front of the school board. The reaction is priceless. I'll show it to you in just a little bit. But first, I don't normally feel bad for people who break the law, but today I'm feeling a little generous. So in the case of John Bolton, let me offer him up some advice. In fact, these words should actually sound quite familiar to him. Watch this.
If Donald Trump were an honest man, if he were an innocent man, he'd be saying, I want the trial within 30 days. I want this cloud removed from over my head. I want this stain on my reputation removed. So we'll wait and see what Donald Trump does.
I guess that means you'll be requesting your own speedy trial here soon, right? Because if not, maybe the Justice Department will take up your advice, the same advice you gave when Trump was indicted.
I'd prefer that the Justice Department move as rapidly as possible as they can through this in order that as much as can be made and would be made public is done as quickly as we can, because otherwise the department is left out there twisting in the wind, to use a Watergate phrase, and it doesn't have adequate defenses against the political onslaught of Donald Trump.
Do you think these people cringe at all when they see their own words come back to bite them? Probably not. They're never going to learn, but they should. Now, before we get into Bolton's admission, let's first get you caught up on the latest in the case. This morning, Bolton turned himself in to authorities.
John Bolton arriving at a United States District Court in Greenbelt, Maryland. He is expected to surrender after being indicted on 18 counts over the alleged mishandling of classified documents. Bolton faces 8 counts of transmission of national defense information and 10 counts of retention of national defense information. The documents contained intel on future attacks, foreign missile launches, and human intel sources.
John Bolton also did go before a judge this morning, and he pleaded not guilty. Now, if convicted, Bolton could face up to 180 years in prison. That's a long time. Here's what CNN of all places, says what's really driving this case.
It's about John Bolton's use of an email account with AOL, an email account where he was writing diary-like notes and summaries of his time as national security advisor to himself, at times even sending them to his wife and daughter. And that is the sort of thing that the Justice Department does say frequently, not just in the climate of a Trump administration, that that's something that you should not do. We have seen many charges like this before of other high-ranking officials.
This indictment is so bad for John Bolton that even CNN has to admit that this is not political retribution. I mean, it's serious when the propaganda network can't spin it. Now, the problem with people that are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome is they're so arrogant, they actually start to believe they're untouchable. They break the law, commit these crimes, and then they march straight onto cable news to lecture the rest of us about integrity, as if it'll never come back to bite them. Well, it looks like it is. This indictment coming just 2 months after the FBI raided Bolton's home in Maryland and his D.C. office, looking for evidence tied to what they're calling the theft of classified national security information. And get this, a DOJ official told the New York Post the case against this 76-year-old is airtight.
The search warrant returns for the former national security advisor were released by a court. What did they show? That the FBI did in fact find classified documents, some marked secret, some marked confidential, in John Bolton's private office. That is a bad sign for his legal future. Could potentially lead to criminal charges of mishandling classified information.
And here's where it gets even crazier. According to a probable cause warrant that was unsealed last month, Bolton's account was hacked by a foreign entity, meaning some of the classified material could have ended up in the hands of foreign governments or other bad actors. So who was the real one endangering national security? This is exactly where the Espionage Act charges are stemming from.
It's my understanding that the U.S. Found some information as they were gathering intelligence from that foreign government. They found John Bolton's emails, essentially, and they discovered things that led them to be suspicious that he was mishandling classified information, and that's what generated this case. This was back in the Biden administration. However, that Justice Department did not move forward with the case. There were some concerns about revealing the access that the U.S. had to the foreign government. The Trump administration made a different calculation. They are moving forward with the case.
Of course, Biden's DOJ tried to bury it. Bolton was useful to them, a Republican-turned-Trump basher who would say whatever they wanted on TV. So naturally, they shelved it, because when Democrats like someone, suddenly mishandling classified information is not a big deal. I mean, protecting criminals is kind of their thing. Now, according to agents involved in the raid, the materials found included documents on weapons of mass destruction, U.S. missions to the United Nations, and secret government travel memos. And here's the kicker. Even if Bolton didn't mean to leak anything, the law still holds him accountable if those documents were left unsecured. But that story fell apart real fast, because when the National Security Council reviewed the manuscript for Bolton's tell-all book, the room where it happened, they said there was no way he wrote it from memory. It was too detailed, meaning Bolton had to have kept notes, likely the same classified notes he claimed didn't exist. Now, Democrats like Jamie Raskin, they are absolutely losing it over the news. They are fuming, panicking, and making it crystal clear they believe prosecution should only happen on one side of the aisle.
It's hard to know what to say about this other than there is no way that had Bolton not broken with Donald Trump, he would be facing these charges today. In other words, he's going to have a very strong claim of selective and vindictive prosecution.
Oh, really? Funny how selective and vindictive suddenly become the talking points when it's one of their own in the hot seat. Meanwhile, John Bolton, he sees it very differently. He actually admitted the politics should be taken out of these cases and that if the government can prove what's alleged, then he deserves to go to jail. Listen to his own words now coming back to haunt him, because he said this when he was cheering on Trump's prosecution for the same exact thing.
Take the politics out of the decision, and in this case, proceed with the prosecution and do the same for anybody else who does anything even remotely like it. Just read the indictment and ask yourself, if the government can prove what they allege here, shouldn't this man go to jail? The simple fact he had the documents, for any reason or no reason, should subject him to prosecution.
That's actually excellent advice coming from the man who spent years preaching about protecting national security. Well, turns out the pot was calling the kettle classified. So now, after years of trashing Trump and accusing him of mishandling classified documents, John Bolton is the one facing those exact same charges. And he's not alone. He's joining the growing list of Trump haters watching the walls close right in on them. Letitia James, James Comey, and many more, according to Kash Patel, because this is just the beginning.
We are looking at so many different leads on criminal activity by those who are in positions of power. And we're not going to stop until every single one of those is fully exposed. The documents are provided either to Congress or the courts of law, and make every referral we can to the Department of Justice. These indictments that you've seen and the ones that you're going to see coming up here in this near future are just the beginning.
Anyone on this list a personal favorite of yours? I mean, who do you think should be next? If I had my way, I would say Adam Schiff. He's a lying, slithering snake that has spent years peddling hoaxes, leaking classified information, and lying about his own finances. And yet he still walks around pretending to be some moral authority. Maybe he can bunk up with Bolton. Now, for anyone who's been skeptical, wondering if any of these people will actually face accountability, Kash Patel says, be patient. These cases take time to build.
Everybody's like, it's 7 months. What have you guys been doing? Yeah. Well, they spent 20 years building this disease temple of corruption. It takes a little bit of time to defeat it and beat it down. And I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to look at the work the men and women of the FBI have done so far in these 7-8 months and just imagine what we're going to do come the year end.
You certainly can't dismantle decades of DC corruption just overnight. But make no mistake, the panic, it's setting in. You can feel it. Nancy Pelosi just became the latest Democrat to come unglued on camera. and it's glorious. A reporter dared to ask her about her refusal to accept President Trump's offer to deploy the National Guard on that certain day in January, and Nancy completely loses it. Watch how she reacts, because this is what guilty looks like without actually saying the words.
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions.
We do still have questions, although President Trump and Kash Patel have made it very clear they were offered the National Guard and it was refused. Their lies now being exposed. Maybe Pelosi, maybe she forgot. Maybe it's the wine. Either way, she's unraveling and it's not a good look. Now, speaking of unraveling, here's the clip I promised you. Letitia James, usually full of rage and grandstanding in front of cameras, suddenly looks like she's been hit by a political freight train. Watch the difference in tone, the look in her face, and the words that she is softly speaking.
My arraignment, as you know, is next Friday. I visit Norfolk quite frequently. My family is in Norfolk. I love my family, and I will defend these charges, and I want everyone to know that it is completely baseless, and I am totally innocent.
That is not the same Letitia James that we normally see. The fire is gone. The arrogance is gone. I mean, her shell-shocked stare screams game over. Maybe she's realizing what's coming, or maybe was hearing this from none other than anti-Trumper Michael Cohen.
Do I believe, for example, that Tish James will be held accountable? Absolutely. I said it on your show last time. Do I think James Comey will be held accountable? Absolutely. The documents will speak for themselves, and I'm certain that they have the documents that they need.
And that's the thing. When you spend all your time weaponizing your office to take down political enemies, eventually that abuse of power is going to come home to roost. I mean, Letitia James, she built a career hunting opponents, and now she's the one that is scrambling to salvage her reputation. If she wanted headlines, she's getting them, just not the way she hoped. Although maybe she'll get a magazine cover. In orange. Could be a nice look. But the hits don't stop there. The Democrat meltdown is spreading. Even CNN is finally forced to print bad news for the party. New numbers show what we've been saying. The map is tilting red in 2026, and it's looking quite rough for Democrats.
If you go back 6 months ago, you go back to April, Kate Baldwin, what were we looking at? Well, we were looking at the Democrats with a very clear shot of taking control of the U.S. House of Representatives, according to the Kalshi prediction market odds. We saw them at an 83% chance. But those odds have gone plummeting down. Now we're talking about just a 63% chance, while the GOP's chances up like a rocket, up like gold, up from 17% to now a 37% chance. So we'll look like a pretty clear, likely Democratic win in the House come next year has become much closer to a toss-up at this point.
Now, despite those numbers, Democrats keep acting like the messaging war is theirs to win. Meanwhile, people are walking away from the party, literally. Some Democrats packing up and leaving because the party keeps choosing theater over governance.
I think I'm going to be leaving the Democrat Party because this happens this happens too often, where they're blaming the opposite party when they know they can do the right thing. They need to do the right thing and reopen this government instead of keeping it shut down like they're hijacking the American people. I've seen it before. We've seen them vote the right way when they're in power. So why the hell can't they vote the right way when they're not in power?
It's not rocket science. The problem is they'd rather stage the next political stunt than actually govern. And say what you want about President Trump, but at least the man is grinding, trying to make the world safer and the country stronger. The Dems, they keep tripping over their own theatrics. Take Illinois. Governor J.B. Pritzker now getting roasted after an illegal immigrant was allegedly employed as a cop. Yeah, armed on duty. Watch this.
So how long have you been a police officer?
January 8th.
January of this year?
8th. Correct. I just finished the academy.
You just finished the academy, okay. All right.
You had to get that.
Just to confirm though too, yeah. So they hired you on, you had work authorization?
Correct.
And you were able to carry a firearm?
No.
Okay.
On duty, yes. Off duty, no.
So on duty you could carry a firearm?
State of Illinois, you need a FOID and a CCW to carry a weapon off duty.
But on duty you could?
Correct.
This guy might be a great guy, might have the right intentions, but he hasn't even pledged allegiance to our country yet. and he's being handed a firearm, which is a felony, by the way. Border Commander Greg Bovino, he is furious.
It's unbelievable that the state of Illinois and Governor J.B. Pritzker would hand an illegal alien a weapon. Title 18 USC Code 922 says it's a felony for an illegal alien to possess or own a firearm. But yet here we have an illegal alien with a firearm in the state of Illinois, as per J.B. Pritzker and those leaders.
Makes you wonder how many illegals with the wrong intentions have been hired as police officers and handed weapons. This is unbelievable. And in Maine, things got surreal at a school board meeting where parents started undressing to protest a trans athlete policy that lets biological boys change in the girls' locker rooms. They were told to cover up. The board suddenly felt uncomfortable. Imagine that. Take a look.
Point of order.
We've asked that we use.
Oh, so wait. They're covered. You feel uncomfortable? Because that's what these young girls feel like when a boy walks into the locker room and starts unchanging in front of them. Yeah, you feel uncomfortable, right? Feel uncomfortable, huh? That's what these young girls feel like every time a young boy changes in front of them. You can look at me like that all you want. That's exactly how they feel. And you, Miss Muffy, oh, well, I don't know if I stand with girls or if I stand with my, with the. So you don't care how young girls feel? You don't care about the safety of young kids? This is Maine's capital. We should be setting an example for the rest of the state. You know what example you guys are setting? That we do not care about the young girls in this state.
Funny how the left suddenly remembers modesty when the shoe is on the other foot. Hypocrisy much here? And Maine, they have some issues. There's a board member in another district who wrote, quote, "To a girl who feels threatened, I would say that I was sorry that your grown-ups made her feel afraid." As a mom of 2 girls, here's my take. Create separate locker rooms and bathrooms for the privacy and safety of kids. If liberal activists want to experiment, let them do it in their own spaces, not where children change. There is no tolerance for reckless policies that endanger our kids. All right, let's end on a human note, shall we? Representative Tim Burchett, a Tennessee Republican with zero filter, he shares a story that proves people can disagree violently and still have respect and decency when it matters. It's the kind of old school bipartisan moment you just don't see on cable news anymore. Watch this.
Steve Cohen, probably as far left as you can be. You know, he's Jewish and I try to be a Christian. We came from Tennessee together. We raised the speed limit together. You know, and we were kind of, I always joked, we'd go out to eat dinner at night because he was so far to the left and I was so far to the right, we met on the other side. But honestly, sometimes I just want to scratch his eyes out, you know, but he called my mama when my daddy died, and you can't get past that.
There it is, the reminder that politics isn't everything. You can disagree, you can despise somebody's views, but decency still must exist. Tim Burchett's story, it's the kind that gives me hope that we can still coexist, even when the headlines might tell us otherwise. All right, up next, Letitia James gets caught harboring a fugitive in the very home now at the center of her indictment. Wait until you hear about the rap sheet that her own niece has racked up, and in a short time, I might add. Plus, liberal Supreme Court justices get called out for inflammatory remarks after claiming Black people are no different than the disabled. Can't make this stuff up. Click on that video you see now on your screen. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Friday, everybody.